Here I am reporting from the Southside district of Birmingham, Alabama on this Thursday afternoon, or Thursday morning rather, approximately 10:40 a.m. 66-degree weather, so we're officially in fall, but not bad. It's still a pretty decent day out today. But again, here I am in the Southside district of Birmingham, and in this area it's a lot of like condominiums and restaurants and things of that nature. So it's south of the downtown area of Birmingham, but one of the major landmarks here on the Southside district is right here, known as Rickwood Field. It is home of Birmingham's minor league baseball team, the Birmingham Barons. This minor league team has a lot of history. Michael Jordan actually played here when he played minor league for a couple of years. He actually played for the Birmingham Barons. It wasn't at this exact stadium because this ballpark actually opened in 2013, so it's been here for only 10 years. But before the minor league team moved to this stadium, they were actually located at Hoover Metropolitan Stadium, which is located in Hoover, which is a suburb of Birmingham. Of course, this is the off season, so I'm just giving a little view of the stadium, or the ballpark. More so a ballpark than a stadium. It's like a little event going on over here, private event. But here we go. This is Willie Mays, actually. Willie Mays is a native of Fairfield, Alabama, which is close to Birmingham. And here's like a little a plaque. And here's Willie Mays' statue of him making that iconic catch, you know, when he played for the New York Giants professional baseball team. So as you can see, there he goes. The left-handed catch over, before the ball. He basically saved the ball from going over center field. He was a center fielder, so. Then he played for the Birmingham Black Barons for two seasons, 1948 to 1949. So of course, the great Willie Mays. Still living too, he's 92 years old. But yeah, that's Willie Mays right there. Huge part of history. He actually played for the Black Barons before, a couple of years before he went to the majors, and played for the New York Giants, who are now the San Francisco Giants. So here's the ticket office right here. Of course, again, that the stadium is closed, or because it's off season, so it's no baseball events. But as you just saw, there was like a live, like a private event that was being hosted here at the ballpark. So that's Rickwood Field. Let me walk a little further down this way. To get the side view of it. Looks like right here is the sports depot. So like you can't really see it from here, but this is where they sell all the merchandise for the Birmingham Barons. Like most major league or minor league baseball teams, they usually have in the stadium, they have like a sports store that sells like sports related, team related paraphernalia. This is actually my first time doing a video in Birmingham. I've been to downtown Birmingham previously, but I never really got a chance to really see the city or see different parts of the city. This is actually my first time particularly coming to this side of the city. Southside of Birmingham. This would actually be a pretty good day for a baseball game. So I'm like right here on the left field side of the ballpark. There's actually there's also, I believe there's a if I'm not mistaken, there's a museum, like a Negro Leagues museum, that's actually in the stadium somewhere. Not quite sure exactly where that is. It's either in the stadium or it's adjacent to the stadium. It might be like adjacent to the stadium. I'm about to find out here pretty soon. Restaurant. So like a event venue right here. It's called the B&A Warehouse. Okay, here it is. I knew I'd run into it eventually. Here's the correction. This is the Negro Southern League Museum. So it's basically a museum for the Southern League, which was a lot of those barnstorming Negro League teams that were based in the southern U.S. It looks like are they even open? I don't know if I'm not quite sure they're open. But here it goes, like outside the door right here. You can see, I like how they etched that into the door. Picture of the Birmingham Barons Negro League team during that time. That's pretty neat. Another thing too is there's a lot of history, good and bad, associated with the city of Birmingham, particularly as it pertains to you know, Black Americans. See there in the background, there's some of the tall buildings associated with the skyline of Birmingham, or downtown Birmingham rather. I'm getting ready to cross the street over here and take a stroll over here at what's called Railroad Park. You can see there's like a little walking trail right over here. Like a little pond right here. Anyone who knows me, by the way, I'm a huge fan of parks and green spaces. Urban parks and green spaces, especially if they're well landscaped and have a lot of you know, nice looking plants and things of that nature. I'm a huge fan of that. I like walking down trails, and particularly I like biking down trails as well. So very, very relaxing, therapeutic, all of those things. And again, you got another really good view of the buildings of downtown. A couple of federal buildings you can see. You can see a couple of those towers too. They look like from factories, because Birmingham does have a long industrial history, particularly when it came to manufacturing steel and iron. So it's actually known as the Pittsburgh of the South because of its history of steel manufacturing. But yeah, it's a really good view right here. I like this pond right here. It looks like they're setting up the stage for what might be like a concert or something over there across the pond from here. But yes, this is called Railroad Park. So if you ever come to Birmingham and you're in the Southside district, it's definitely a nice place to come walk your dog, come bring the children, or just, you know, if you want to come out here and spread your blanket out and just have a relaxing day, a picnic, whatever you want to call it. But and this is why it's called Railroad Park, because it's literally right next to a railroad. It's literally right next to a railroad. You see the freight train right over here, and across those tracks is downtown Birmingham. And see, there goes some new apartment homes too, and you know that it costs a pretty penny to live over there, I'm sure, because of its location. Prime real estate right next to a beautiful park, and also right next to a ballpark as well. So location is everything. Now this is very relaxing. You have the water falling into the water, so that's pretty neat. But yeah, there and in the background you have the buildings, and again you have the train tracks. You got the freight cars for the Union Pacific, BNSF, railroad companies. Very, very neat, very, very relaxing. Kelly Ingram Park, another nice park located in downtown Birmingham. As we approach 16th Street, historic 16th Street, in the Birmingham Civil Rights Historic District. Here's one of the quotes: "No man can make us hate, and no man can make us afraid." This was by the great Reverend Fred L. Shuttlesworth in his New Negro Church speech, written in May 17th, 1957. And there goes the other side of this poster. Kelly Ingram Park was another site of a lot of marches and protests and heavy police presence in the face of, you know, all the segregation that took place during the 60s. Here's a statue of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As you can see here. Here's the inscription of, you know, when he was born and when he was assassinated. And also inscripted in on this stone is Basically, a few quotes from him. His dream liberated Birmingham from itself and began as a new day of love, mutual respect, and cooperation. And here is the date right here when it was unveiled, January 20th, 1986. Shout out to the sculptor, Carlo Rappa. Here we are at the corner of 6th Avenue and 16th Street. See a couple of tour coaches. Here's the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Nice little poster sitting outside of the building. Got your boy Kendrick Lamar. Muhammad Ali, Dick Gregory, James Baldwin right there in the middle, and at the top there it's LeBron James. All very powerful and iconic figures of the African American culture, black culture rather. Now here we are outside of the historic 16th Street Baptist Church, home of the infamous 16th Street bombing that took place back in the 60s. Unfortunately, there were 4 young black girls who were killed in this bombing. But this is the building. This is the actual church, which has tours. It's open for tours, so it's virtually a museum. As you can see right here, those are the prices of admission and the operating hours as well, or at least the tour hours rather. Goes the sign right here. All right. Here's the plaque and the names of all the young girls who were whose lives were taken away in that unfortunate bombing incident. Here's the rear of the church. So for this church to be this old, it definitely is very well maintained from the outside, you know, and likely in the inside as well. What you see here is another site that's part of the Birmingham Civil Rights National Monument. It's called the A.G. Gaston Motel, and this is basically where the meeting, it was, well, size actually obviously being a motel, this was actually also the meeting place for a lot of the civil rights leaders of that time, where they would come together and have meetings, and they'll have meetings and talk about basically, you know, how they were going to address the segregation that was running rampant during that time. Being that I'm such a huge history buff, this is what really caught my eye right here. Right now we're at the corner of 5th Avenue and 16th Street, and closing in on like the 4th Avenue district. But this area right here was actually known as Birmingham's vibrant black business district. So as you know, back during that time, there were a lot of cities across America that had vibrant and thriving black enclaves, where there were a lot of thriving businesses and and basically the culture of black people as well, you know, as far as the arts and everything like that. But the end of slavery did not mean an end to inequality. Black Americans continue to face racism and segregation that limited access to housing, education, recreation, and business opportunities. To address this, Birmingham's black business leaders developed a vibrant downtown commercial district of their own. As I said earlier, that was very common during that time. From the early 1900s onward, black businesses, churches, and social establishments sprung up along 3rd, 4th, and 5th Avenues. Immigrant shopkeepers also found opportunities in the area. This district provided black Americans with access to banking, shopping, restaurants, motels, doctor's offices, and other professional services. The Masonic Temple building and many other historic buildings from this district are still standing. So as you just saw, we just passed by the A.G. Gaston Motel, and it's essentially it's like a historical site and also a museum. And right here it says it's actually named after A.G. Gaston, who was a very successful entrepreneur who was from Birmingham. And a Birmingham success story. A.J. Gaston was born into poverty. What's going on with you, though? Doing all right. But steadily rose to prominence, whether selling soda or funeral services. Gaston amassed a fortune by seeing opportunities and creating businesses to meet the needs of his community. Man, that's what's up, man. It's good to see, man. It's good to see how successful our people were during this time, man. And I can't wait to go to more visit black districts that were thriving at one point in time and record the history, because it's very important that we understand our history, because there's power in history, bro. There's a lot of power in knowledge and knowing where you come from, and knowing the forefathers and foremothers who etched their way into history. We'll continue walking this way. We're going to be slowly making our way back over to Railroad Park. But I just had to get that footage of that the black vibrant district of Birmingham, because it's very, like I said, it's very essential that we know this type of knowledge, because even in the midst of inequality, black people still found a way to thrive and to become self-sufficient individuals. And that in itself is powerful, given the political and economic climate during that time, and also the demographics as well. Segregation and racism, all of those type of things. There's another church right here, Metropolitan AME Zion Church. And now we are on the 4th Avenue district of Birmingham. This is another gem that you really don't often hear mentioned associated with Birmingham history, unless you really get down to the meat and potatoes of history as it pertains to the city. But here's the plaque right here. This is the historic 4th Avenue Historical Business District. And again, this is where historically black businesses have thrived and become a staple of black history as it pertains to Birmingham. Fourth Avenue legend Percy Hornbuckle. I've actually never heard of the brother, but I do plan on doing some research and learning. You know, I'm learning every day. That's what makes this whole experience and this whole journey to knowledge, you know, such a beautiful experience. Let me get this real quick. There goes the beautiful Miss Angela Davis, a painting of her. She was born right here in Birmingham, Alabama in 1944. And here goes Miss Rosa Parks. So just to give you a glimpse of the art, of the artistry associated with the history. It's like a beauty supply. It looks like it's abandoned. Like, looks like a shuttered business, but it does see, so you do see like it was a beauty supply here. And I don't know, let's see. There goes Dawson's Burgers, Wings, and Fries. Comes a barber shop right here. Touch of elegance. A lot of these buildings look abandoned. But back during the early 1900s, this was really booming. Like, a lot of, you know, restaurants and barbershops and beauticians, all those type of things were located right down this stretch of 4th Avenue. And here's the historic Carver Theater right here at the corner of 4th Avenue and 17th Street. So it's the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame, which is located right here in the Carver Theater, as you see right here in the front. So I make my way right back into the heart of downtown. All of these sites, by the way, are located on what's called the Birmingham Civil Rights Heritage Trail. Somebody has to do it. Never heard of this brother either. Emory Overton Jackson. He was born on September 8th, 1908 in Buena Vista, Georgia, to Wilbert and Lovey Jones Jackson. Jackson and his 7 siblings were raised in the middle-class Birmingham enclave of Enon Ridge, located on the west side of town near Birmingham Southern College. He attended Industrial High School, which was later named A.H. Park High School. In 1928, he enrolled in Atlanta's Morehouse College, where he served as president of the student government and editor of the newspaper, The Maroon Tiger. So, yeah, it's more right here. I'm gonna freeze frame this later on so I can read the rest of it. But back during those times too, a lot of high schools were like industrial high schools. And in other words, you know, people were learning, like, outside of learning the normal curriculum, you know, like English, math, and all that type of history, things of that nature. They were learning, like, and they were learning trades, basically. You know, these students that were enrolled in those schools were learning trades. You know, and also given the fact that Birmingham, again, does have a history when it comes to industrial, like, related entities. Good morning, good people. I'm reporting from Ensley, Alabama, which is on the western outskirts of Birmingham. And as you can see right here, this sign says Ensley 1899. Now, Ensley itself was once a bustling industrial city in its own right back in the early 1900s. And mind you, this is right outside of Birmingham. And Birmingham, at the time that Ensley was established, was only 15 years old. So Birmingham was still a developing city in its own right. But Ensley was an industrial hotspot back in the early 1900s. And so yeah, there was a bunch of coal plants and blast furnaces, something that was very characteristic of the industrial city of Birmingham. But this is Ensley, which is no longer its own city. It was annexed into the city of Birmingham in, I believe it was 1910. So it only like lasted for like a little over a decade as its own city. But as you can see right here, there's some artwork that shows, that displays the industrial history of Ensley. As you can see, there's like those like blast furnaces in coal plants, and they also have, like, it looks like some doves. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. There goes the city bus right here, as you can see. What you're going to see are a lot of buildings that are still around, a lot of brick buildings that are still around from that era. Here's a clothing store right here. It's called Cotton's. And in addition to being like a huge industrial city back in the early 1900s, Ensley was also a thriving black district. It was like the Black Wall Street of Birmingham. There's Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was known as the Black Wall Street, but there was Durham, North Carolina, also known as the Black Wall Street. But Ensley was also a Black Wall Street of sorts of its own right, you know, back during that time, early 1900s, aka the early 20th century. And there goes a piece of art right here. It shows a lady with the trumpet. It's either a trumpet or a trombone. I'm not sure which instrument that is. But it's a really nice piece of art. It's a nice little mural right here on the side of this brick building. See the sister right here with her dreadlocks. Looks like she has the little piano going across her, also her midsection, from her shoulder. And looks like the social media handle is @Jamie the artist. So Jamie the artist, shout out to you. I look forward to checking out that page to see the type of artwork the artist has created. Yes, this is, I believe this is 19th Street. The Ensley Grill since 1930. So this is the historic Ensley Business District. So all these buildings, this whole district used to be really thriving in the early 20th century. Now it's just a neighborhood with a lot of abandoned buildings that is located in the western reaches of the city of Birmingham. This way. A lot of these buildings too, you know, Ensley, also want to mention at one point in time, especially like in the kind of like the 1920s, 30s era. At one point in time, it was a lot of musicians that performed and that emerged from this area. You know, the Temptations actually grew up here. At least a couple of members of the Temptations grew up in this neighborhood. David Ruffin being one of them. Also, Paul Williams was another one of the Temptations who grew up in Birmingham, Ensley specifically. So I think this used to be a gentleman's club right over here. Yeah, so it's definitely a shell of its former self. A lot of abandoned buildings. It's sad to know that this used to be a thriving black district, especially in the years you know, the years after the Reconstruction era that took place after the abolishment of slavery and all of that. I mean, it used to be a lot of salons over here, barber shops. There's it looks like there might be a few stores opened up. You know, a lot of these buildings also used to be warehouses. It's an interesting piece of art right here. Yeah, a lot of these buildings used to be warehouses because of its industrial history, and some of those former warehouses have been converted into storefronts. Like right here, it looks like there's a store over here that sells dashikis, African attire, sunglasses, shea butter, body oil. They're not open right now, but the name of it is called A Little of Everything Fashion Plus. So if you want to support locally owned business, here you go. You can come to Ensley and come check them out. Almost 8 o'clock in the morning, so I'm out here early. So I want to come out as early as I possibly can and get as much video footage today in the city as I possibly can. I have been to Birmingham 6 months ago. I did visit Birmingham 6 months ago and got footage of downtown. I did managed to go to the Civil Rights District, but today I'm just exploring other parts of the city, and Ensley was the first place I decided to come. So I'll be back with more footage a little later on. Until then, peace. Another cool piece of art. I love how these cities and districts of these cities reflect the actual past of the city by crafting up these pieces of art. I'm not quite sure what that is. It might be father and daughter. But this right here represents the industrial history of Birmingham. You can see like a factory that has stacks of smoke coming out of it. Dope. Here I am at Rickwood Field. Rickwood Field is the oldest professional baseball stadium in the United States. And it's here on the west side of Birmingham, Alabama. This stadium, this field has been up since 1910. It was actually commissioned and opened by team owner Rick Woodard. Rick Woodard was an industrialist in Birmingham, and he also was a team owner of the Birmingham Barons. Now, the Birmingham Barons played at this stadium for many decades. You had basically two Birmingham Barons. You had the Birmingham Barons, which were an all-white baseball team, and you had the Birmingham Black Barons, who were part of the Negro Leagues. So you had the Birmingham Barons and the Birmingham Black Barons, and you know, both teams attracted large crowds during game days. But the Birmingham Black Barons were very, very successful as far as, especially in the Negro Leagues. The Negro Leagues as well was very successful. Now this stadium no longer hosts the Birmingham Barons. The Birmingham Barons, you know, after they played in this stadium for many, many decades, they moved to a stadium out in Hoover, Alabama, Hoover Metropolitan Stadium in the suburbs. And they have since moved from that stadium to Regents Field about 10 years ago. So they now presently play at Regents Field, which is on the south end of downtown Birmingham. But as you can see right now, you have some contractors here doing construction. You know, so they basically maintain this stadium, even though it's over 100 years old. They maintain the stadium, and I don't know if they plan on making it into like a museum to preserve the history of the baseball that was being played here at the stadium. But as of now, they are doing construction work here. I'm here in front of Legion Field. It's an old but very historic, you know, football stadium. I like the architecture of this stadium, especially the sculptures that lie in front of it. As you can see a lion right here. And there's another lion over there as well. Now Legion Field, as you can see, it hosted the World Games here in Birmingham 2 years ago. Here's legendary coach Paul Bryant, aka Bear Bryant, who coached the University of Alabama from 1958 to 1982. And during, you know, Bear Bryant's tenure as head coach of the University of Alabama, I want to make mention that he, you know, there was black football players actually integrated onto the football team. Held the most held the most wins for a head coach in the history upon his retirement. And he actually coached the Alabama Crimson Tide to 6 national titles and 14 SEC champions. And I want to mention also that this stadium served as the primary venue for Crimson Tide football games, you know, until like the late 1990s, which is interesting considering, you know, they have their own stadium in Tuscaloosa. But there's also for many years hosted the Iron Bowl, the annual Iron Bowl between Alabama Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers football team. And it also was the primary venue for the University of Alabama Birmingham football team, or aka UAB. From the time UAB started a football program in 1991. Now, as of 2021, the UAB's football team now plays at a newer venue close to downtown called Protective Stadium. So it's a very, very historic stadium. Here's the ticket booth right here. You see, it's a photograph of, I want to say that's Joe Webb. I want to say it's Joe Webb. I remember Joe Webb because he played for the Carolina Panthers for a little while. He was their starting quarterback. There goes Alabama A&M, Alabama State. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the annual Classic game is played here at this stadium as well. So this venue hosts many events, especially as it pertains to football. And I just fact checked it. Yes, Magic City Classic is held annually between Alabama State University and Alabama A&M, two of the largest historically black universities in the state of Alabama. So they play their games every year right here at Legion Field. So I would only imagine that it'll be a full house during that time of the year, because it's a big deal. I hear a lot of people talk about the Classic here in Alabama. It's just like with anything else pertaining to football, it is a religion just as much as Christianity and Baptist churches and things of that nature. But just one more glance at the Legion Field, and I'm gonna end it right here. As that plane flies over. I have arrived to the historic Vulcan Park here in Birmingham for the first time ever. It has been a long time coming, but I made it to Vulcan Park. And right here is a little sculpture of the Vulcan statue. It's called Eyes Over Birmingham, alluding to the fact that the Vulcan statue does, like, literally, you can see the whole city of Birmingham once you get to that hill where the statue is located. But here, this is the Eyes of Birmingham by artist Ahmad Austin. So you can see right here. The Eyesight Foundation of Alabama. Shouts out to them. But yes, the Vulcan statue itself is actually modeled after the Roman mythology god named Vulcan, who was the god of forge and fire. So, you know, it's only right that they will put this in Birmingham, giving its geography, its topography, and also the fact that Birmingham does have a history. It's rooted in industrial work as far as iron and steel industry. Birmingham is known as the Pittsburgh of the South. because Pittsburgh is also known for its steel industry. And there goes the sculptor right there. His name is Giuseppe Moretti. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Giuseppe Moretti. But he created the statue in just 7 months. And the statue was cast by local foundrymen using iron ore taken from Red Mountain mines. So also, you know, in 2002 and 2003, you know, the statue had to be restored because of all of the elements from the weather have caused it to over time deteriorate and, you know, accumulate rust and all those type of things. But it's still standing tall. As you can see right over here, there goes the actual statue. Now, there's also a museum, but it's not open at the moment. I'm here early. It's like, it opens like in another hour. Let's see right over there. There goes the Vulcan Center. That's the museum over there. And again, there's another view of the Vulcan statue. So, and over here, there's some tables. You can actually sit and have a picnic or whatever the case may be, socialize with some friends, all the while looking at this view of the entire city. See, as you can see the entire city over here. It overlooks. This is a very impressive view. So again, this is located on the slope of Red Mountain, on the southern end of the city of Birmingham. So you can see the skyline, you know, all the city buildings. I think you could see Sloss. Looks like you could see Sloss furnaces from over here as well. As well as it looks like some smoke, like coming from like one of the factories over in the distance. But yeah, this is essentially an observation deck. Here goes another historical, like before Birmingham, Jones Valley. So it talks about the Native American presence here on this particular site. From 1500 to 1800, members of Alabama's Creek Nation fished and hunted in the area. And you also have the Creeks and the Muskogees, or the Muskogees rather, who are believed to descend from mound building people who flourished in the area from 1000 to 1450. So it's also on Native American indigenous grounds, you know. Here's the early settlement that talks about, you know, when the settlers came to America and took over the land. And also we have the industrial timeline to where Jones Valley would explode into an iron industry, and eventually the city of Birmingham was established. And that was like in the early 1800s. Or excuse me, late 1800s rather. So this also used to be a railroad trestle. This is where they would transport raw materials, a lot of which came from, you know, the local mills and the mines in the city. And a lot of the materials were shipped here to build this particular statue. But this is a really, really nice part of the city. I did not even know. I mean, I've heard about the Vulcan statue in the Vulcan Park through brochures that I've read about Birmingham, but I didn't realize it was this nice. I mean, you could see the entire city. You could even see the highways from here. That is amazing. It's an amazing view. And it took the sculptor, it took him roughly 7 months to put this statue together. And here goes another marker right here. Design has to be part of the culture of the city, by Philip Morris. This plaza is dedicated to his vision circa 2015. Here goes another so again, Birmingham was founded like around the late 1800s. And here it is talking about how the infrastructure of the city of Birmingham came into play. So it's like a little aerial map of the infrastructure, the streets and everything of that nature. And this is an old map. So right over here it shows where Interstate 20 and /59, it was constructed right around this part of the city. So this was before obviously the interstate highway system. It was mostly passenger railroads were the primary form of transportation. And again, we're talking late 1800s. In these industrial cities, that was the primary mode of transportation. It was railroad transport. But yeah, it was a gentleman by the name of William P. Barker with the South and North Alabama Railroad who actually laid out Birmingham's system of streets and avenues to align with the main rail lines that still run through the city. So I'm always interested in knowing how cities are architected and how they're engineered and the streetscape and all that type of things. Those have always been a thing that interested me. And so this is a bird's eye view of the city of Birmingham. And that's a good way to push this, you know, to market the city, because there's people that love nice views like this. Now, of course, you got people that aren't really big on heights like that would probably freak out being this high up, but for somebody like myself, like, I love it. And here's a marker that talks about the industry in Birmingham as far as its iron and steel manufacturing history. You know, they have Sloss Furnaces, you have McWayne Pipe Company, ABC Coke, and then of course you have the principal rail lines, and you have a SIPCO, which is a cast iron pipe company. So you can get a lot of iron and steel materials out of Birmingham. This is basically the core of industry, ground zero, if you will. Although the Birmingham economy has evolved to embrace other sectors, evidence of the iron industry remains. So yes. And even if you ride through the city, you'll see a lot of like iron manufacturing plants and steel mills and things of that nature, many of which are closed, but they still maintain the buildings. So essentially this is a mine. Like this mountain, there's mines that actually are surrounded by the area. And again, here goes the Vulcan Center. This is the actual museum that has exhibits that give you even more of a comprehensive look at the Vulcan Park and the city of Birmingham's industry history. So it's a lot of that. And wow, this is interesting. They have I like how they did this. This is dope. They actually have the interstate, they have a map like engraved into the ground. Like they have I-459 right here. You know, they have Hoover. You know, you have Vestavia Hills on US 31. You have I-65 right here. Let's see, they have Homewood over here. 280. Got Mountain Brook. And here goes the star right here. X marks the spot. This is the star where we are right here, Vulcan Park. Then they have the grid, the street grid of downtown Birmingham. I've never seen anything like this, people. This is really impressive. East Birmingham, got I-20, got Irondale, you know. They got all the foundries and steel mills that exist within the city. Sloss Furnaces, McWayne Pipe, American Cast Iron Pipe Company, Pratt City. They also have the various like neighborhoods in the city. You know, you got Pratt City, Thomas on US 78. You got Ensley, where we visited earlier. That's off of I-20. Fairfield, Midfield. Bessemer. And you can see the railroad right here. So a lot of these cities and towns and suburbs and neighborhoods are linked by railroad, not just interstate. The interstate highway just gave an alternate method of transportation, a more modernized method of transportation, because remember the railroads were old, you know, they were like, that was old school. So all the highway system just gave a more modernized way for people to transport through the city, of course, with the automobiles and everything like that. So it just made it to where it was quicker to get through the city. But you could still you don't really have passenger railroads in this city, like as far as navigating through the city via railroad. Most of these railroads are used for like freight trains and, you know, cargo and things of that nature. But it's really interesting. This city, Birmingham, has a really interesting history. I mean, out of all the major cities that are in Alabama and, you know, perhaps the South, you know, Birmingham is actually one of the youngest cities, you know. I mean, I believe in this entire I believe in the entire city of Birmingham, there might be one like antebellum, kind of like post-Civil War building that's remaining in the city. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here at Vulcan Park, but stay tuned as I take my trip to Tuscaloosa and get some more footage out there. But in the meantime, in between time, guys, I'll see you in Tuscaloosa. Peace. The Southview suburban neighborhood south of Red Mountain. Now you have Mountain Brook, you have Hollywood, Homewood, Rosedale, and Vestavia Hills. Now many of these are located off of Highway 31. And these give off good views of, you know, the city, but from the southern perspective, like south of, from the Red Mountain. Now, again, a lot of people during that time, we're talking like the 1920s, during the advent or the rise in popularity of automobiles, a lot of residents fled to the southern suburbs to get away from the congestion of the city, you know, the congestion, all of the unhealthy living conditions that come with living in an industrial city. You know, you got all the smoke and all the just overall congestion that can contribute to health issues. So I just thought I'd point that out real quick, that not everybody lived in the city proper of Birmingham. You had residents that actually own homes south of the city in the suburbs around the mountain. Just wanted to point that out.